Hey guys, it's Dragon. In my last video I went over practicing intentionally with the proper mindset in order to get the most out of your aim training time. If you haven't already, go back and watch that video before watching this one. Done? Good. Today I'll be going over something that's been highly requested by you guys, which is benchmarks and training routines. Before getting into benchmarks, recall how we briefly went over the different kinds of scenarios you'll encounter in KOVAX, as well as the different aim components and subcomponents they are meant to train. Voltaics benchmarks are meant to gauge your proficiency in particular aspects of mouse control. This is done by grouping a range of scores into particular ranks, ranging from bronze to ascended. You can find more information on these benchmarks, as well as other resources, by joining their Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. A mistake people often make is judging their improvement based on their high scores instead of their median or averages, which leads to many of them becoming discouraged. You should pay attention to the scores you average instead. As your average rises, the scores on those personal bests where you pop off will rise as well. People tend to average the scores for the tier just below the one they just got into or are about to get into. For example, prior to getting Master, people tend to start averaging Diamond scores. If you're looking to improve, your focus should be on maintaining a consistently high average of performance. You should not hard grind the benchmarks. Spending hours on them each day just to raise your ranking isn't going to make you better at the game you play. Before we get into routines, let's cover some good practices. Make sure to do a mobility routine before aim training and stretch after aim training to help avoid repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel syndrome. I've linked a wrist stretching and posture guide by Caster in the description below, which contains many useful stretches that you can do before you get into your routines. If you experience any pain or strong discomfort, you should stop and take longer breaks. If this becomes chronic, you should seek the help of a professional. Aside from this, understand that living an overall healthy lifestyle will positively affect your aim, as well as your overall performance in the games you play. I'll cover this more in depth in a future video. The general consensus amongst higher level aimers is that doing the benchmarks by themselves is not the most efficient way to improve. The benchmarks are meant to do just that. Benchmark how far you've progressed along your journey to refining your mouse control. To see meaningful improvement, it is recommended that you do a routine with scenarios that are meant to train your mouse control. Once again, remember not to play through your 1 hour routine straight, and to interleave breaks like we discussed in the second part of this series. For beginners, I'd recommend doing a routine that trains your mouse control completely. That is, a routine that includes scenarios that trains each component of aim that we discussed previously. At the intermediate level, around Platinum, you can start doing routines that focus on more specific aspects of your mouse control, such as smoothness, static, and speed. Should you choose to do so, it would be wise to work on the aspect of your aim that you are weakest at. Some people find that doing their training routine before playing their game of choice makes their aim worse. This is due to the fatigue from aim training. Experiment and find what works best for you. When people play their training routine prior to playing their main game, they tend to see it as a warm-up. However, if people do it after playing their main game, not only will they be less fatigued, but they will view it as a workout. In the description below, I've attached 3 routines. One to be used for those with little to no experience in aim trainers, below Platinum after benchmarks, one to be used for those between Platinum and Diamond, and one to be used for everyone above Diamond. Don't be tempted to immediately jump into more difficult tasks, as you could develop bad habits due to you compensating for your inability to properly play the scenarios. Now, even as a beginner, if you understand the aim components and subcomponents we covered earlier, you'll be able to better understand your routines and the ways they help you improve your mouse control specifically. Thus, you can identify scenarios in KOVAX that are helpful, and those that are not. I'll use the scenarios in one of the routines I linked earlier as an example. The term smoothness will come up often as I'm explaining how these are useful. The first scenario will help you with smoothly tracking fast-moving targets that are close to you. It will refine your horizontal tracking, and also allow you to work on your reactivity due to the bot's acceleration and directional changes. Scenarios like this are typically correlated with high TTK games, such as Apex Legends. The second scenario helps refine your tracking not only horizontally, but vertically as well. It also helps with aiming along the y-axis, something most are not comfortable with. This will also work on your reactivity due to the bot's acceleration and directional changes. The third scenario refines your vertical tracking and smoothness across a series of ranges. Before I go over the following scenarios, I'd like to cover flicking and what exactly that term means. Flicks are often perceived to be fast, snappy motions used to acquire or reacquire a target. However, in actuality, for skilled aimers, this motion is very fluid and involves smoothly tracing a line to your target and micro-correcting to account for any inaccuracy. Therefore, to get better at performing these motions, this is how you should play clicking scenarios. Generally, take the shortest path between targets. Be smooth. For stationary targets, have a faster flicky motion, smoothly transitioning into a micro adjustment, and don't overflick. You may slow down until you can do this technique. For moving targets, always take the shortest path, again, and don't have this flicky motion, or have it very reduced. It should be more of a fluid aiming style than with stationary targets. Make sure to avoid spam clicking. Now that we've covered this, let's get back to the scenarios themselves. This scenario trains you to accurately time your shots on targets moving linearly. This scenario trains you to accurately time your shots on targets moving vertically across a series of ranges. Scenarios like these are typically correlated with low TTK games such as Valorant, CSGO, and Rainbow Six Siege. Though this scenario is considered to be a target switching task, your focus when training should not be on speed, but smoothly tracking each bot. Speed will come naturally as a result of you killing each target faster. This final scenario trains you in accurately switching from target to target in the most efficient manner possible. The same rules for flicking apply here. Scenarios like this are typically correlated with low TTK games that are fast-paced, such as Call of Duty and Battlefield. Now that you have a better understanding of how particular scenarios can help you, you can now better identify whether a routine will be helpful to you for the games you play. And that just about wraps up the video. I hope this video helped shed light on benchmarks and, more importantly, routines and their benefits, and how you should go about using them, as well as healthy practices you should keep in mind while training. Once again, I appreciate any constructive criticism on things I could have done better or been more clear about. Feel free to ask me any questions you may have in my Twitch chat, the comments below, or my Discord server, all of which shall be linked in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.